And then you begin to forget where you came from. And that's why it's so important, brothers, that you have the final call in your hand, not because you're a paper boy, but because it keeps you in touch with the reality of the suffering of your people.
Yes, sir.
And when you can go to a project house and know that your people are not eating well today, how can you see them suffering?
Go ahead, brother minister.
And not feel their pain?
Yes.
But if you have this incestuous relationship with each other, but you're not in touch with the reality of the life out of which you came, then you forget and you become unconscious to the news of your people's suffering. And you become now an instrument that is no longer fit to be used in the vineyard of the Lord to bring about the fruition of his will, which is bound up in the mission.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That Jesus had and that Muhammad had.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at this. Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. What are you yoked with, Jesus? I'm yoked with a people that have lost themselves, lost their minds, lost their way.
Yes, sir.
Robbed and spoiled by a caveman. I'm yoked with a people who have been made to hate themselves and their origin in this world. I'm yoked with a people that think they know because the enemy took them to his school. I'm yoked with a people who walk in darkness, gross darkness, the people. So the Quran says of the Jesus, who are my helpers in the cause of Allah? And the disciples answered, we are. But are you? Love ye one another, equal to, even as I have loved you. Well, Jesus, Muhammad, y'all were evil spoken of. I can't take that. You all were persecuted in different cities. I don't think I can take being persecuted for the sake of the word. You all were rejected and despised even by those whom you came to save. I don't know whether I can take that. See? You were brought into court on false, trumped up charges by a government that feared the kingdom that you were bringing in to displace the political madness of so-called democracy. Yeah. And then finally, you were scourged and beaten and spat upon and then crucified, and I don't think I can handle that. Well, then you can't love one another even as I have loved you. Now, what does it take to walk in those footsteps of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and Jesus, peace be upon him? What does it take?
Yes, sir.
See? It takes a heart that is filled with love, first for God. So Jesus says the first commandment is to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And the second is like unto it, love your neighbor or your brother as you love yourself. That's a problem area. Because how can you love yourself if you've never been taught who you are? So we are at a loss as a people to love ourselves because the enemy deprived us of the knowledge of self. So we have been filled with self-hatred and a false kind of love for him.
Yes, sir.
So what I would like to see as a servant of Allah and a fellow sufferer with you, I would like to see us love ourselves and our people enough that you go the last mile to see your people free. I would like to see you willingly, lovingly give up your place for somebody else. I would like to see the kind of hospitality that we had in the early days of Islam, where you would get up out of your bed and give your bed to your brother. I would like to see us come up with the mentality that if I have a bowl of soup and my brother has none, half of my bowl belongs to my brother. That's the kind of spirit I want to see. And when you go out and you see your brother and sister lined up out there, thank them for their patience.
Yes. Teach us, brother.
Tell them that you love them.
Yes, sir.
And you've gotten up out of your seat
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
to let them come in and see and hear their brother just for a short while.
Yes, sir.
October 16th, 2005 is the 10th anniversary of the Million Man March. I would like us to mobilize again, but for a different reason. I close, keep that door closed. I don't want to be disturbed by what's going on out there. Thank you. I want us to get out of this silly thinking that some good white man is going to provide a future for black people. I want you to wake up,
Yes, sir.
mentally and spiritually,
Yes, sir.
to your own responsibility to change the reality of black life in America, in the Caribbean, in Africa, and wherever our kith and kin live on this earth. Before he left, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad one day said to me, I don't want you to think for a few or to speak for a few. I want you to think for the whole and speak for the whole.
Yes, sir.
I don't speak for Muslims alone and not Christians.
Come on.
I don't speak, listen to me
Yes,
good
sir.
now. I don't speak for the big man and leave out the little man. I don't think anymore or plan anymore for some Muslims in a mosque.
Go ahead.
Our people are dying. And they're dying because nobody is reaching beyond themselves and their immediate family or their denomination or their sect or their party or their clan or their tribe to look out for the least of these. He said, brother, if there are 30 million of us and we eat at least one slice of bread per meal and we eat 3 meals a day, that would be 90 million slices of bread per day. 630 million slices of bread per week. 32,760,000,000 slices of bread per year.
Go ahead.
How much land must we have under wheat cultivation to give our people their daily bread? Then he says, do that for whatever meat that they wish to eat. How much grazing land must you have? How many head of cattle must you have? How many head of sheep or lamb must you have? How many acres of corn do you grow? Vegetables do you grow?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To feed yourself. So I'm not thinking about returning to Washington for us to celebrate nothing.
Talk to us, brother. Talk to us.
Because whatever we did in the last 10 years, it did not change the reality of the masses of our people. So whatever we did, we gotta know it was not enough. And as black men,
Yes, sir.
we are responsible for the condition of our women and our children. And we, as men, have to accept that responsibility of their protection and their maintenance. We can't do that begging a white man for a job. We can only secure our women and our children if we understand the relationship of land to freedom and then go after the required land. Now, this is going to make some folk very uneasy, because as long as you blinging and hip hopping and shaking your backside, you ain't troubling the waters none.
Go ahead, go ahead.
But if you really want to see your people free, you gotta trouble the waters.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You're troubling them now in a stupid way. Let's trouble the waters in a real way that brings about substantive change for all of us. And don't you dare point me to Miss Oprah. I love her, not madly, but I do love her. She's a very special woman. But don't point me to rich black people as an example for me. Because the enemy will allow a few of us to get a little substance to trick the rest of us into thinking that his system will work for us. So you continue to mock time. You ain't moving, even half stepping.
Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
You in mock time. And all the time that you are mocking time, your babies are dying. And they're plotting in high places to kill us as a people wholesale. 30 years ago, you were the largest minority. 30 years ago, the demographers were saying that by the year 2050, at our present birth rate, black folk would be equal to whites in population or greater than whites in population. And the white folk scientists of evil said, we must not let that happen. So all of a sudden,
Go ahead, go ahead. Come on.
AIDS is developed.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden, crack cocaine is developed. All of a sudden, guns and gangs. All of a sudden, the funeral parlors all over America filled with our young men. Pharaoh is working. He said, spare the female.
Right, right. Kill.
Kill the male.
Come on.
Look at you. Look at you. God didn't make you, sister, to be independent of a man. He made us to depend on one another to fulfill his purpose in our creation. Now here you are. I don't need no. Yeah, I mean, they gotta say it because we're not doing what we're supposed to do.
That's right. That's right.
She has to fend for herself today.
Right. Come on.
Because we as men have been destroyed.
That's right. That's right. Make it plain.
You a destroyed man
That's right.
that needs to be rebuilt. And Harvard and Yale and City College,
Yes, sir.
they're not the institutions to rebuild black men and give us the sense of purpose. So our sisters are filling the colleges. The men are filling the jails, but the sisters are coming right along too. Sisters, when you ask them, well, are you in college? Oh, yes, yes. What do you want? I'm into law. I'm into medicine. I'm into engineering. I'm going to be a fashion designer. I'm going to fly planes. Brother, what you into?
Go ahead. That's right. Tell the truth.
So the enemy before was plotting to save you, kill him,
That's right.
and use you
That's right.
to get into the new world
That's right.
through your womb.
That's right. That's the plan.
He know that the world is militating against white people,
That's right.
but he can get into another world through your womb. Because even though he is white, you will color his seed.
That's right.
So he's working on the black woman now.
Right. Right.
He don't have a job, but you can work downtown. He doesn't have a job, but you have money. He comes to you. Hey, baby, how you doing? Look here, you so fine. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And he may be cute, you know, but you know that don't last but a minute. And Mr. Cute, he need a place to stay. He can't take you home to his place. You gotta take him home to yours. Baby, I know you're going to work in the morning, but could you leave a few dollars, you know what I mean, on the nightstand, you know what I mean? I need to go cross town. Can I borrow your car? What do you need that for? See, brothers, look, this kind of crap that you putting down, that's what makes her turn toward other women, because she can find more comfort in another woman than the natural comfort that God intended for her to find in a man. And since you can't handle her no more, because she discovered your weakness right away and smack you with it, you on the down low now. You ain't going home to her. You hanging out with another man, sweetheart. Love ye one another. You taking that the wrong way. So I'm asking for scholars and cultural giants, economists, educators, politicians, we got to sit down and plan the future of our people. Don't see yourself no more as the leader of your little organization. You got to see yourself as a leader of a people. And we have to sit down, think, and plan for the rise of an entire people. And that's where my head is today. I know it's going to trouble the waters. Because as long as you don't seek anything, you can get along. And there are white folk that you really believe are different from their fathers. And they appear that way. Listen to me good.
Yes, sir.
They appear that way because either you don't know how to get what you really deserve, or they take you in and make you what your heart has always wanted to be, but at the expense of your soul.
That's right. That's right.
If I had time, maybe at another time, I would like to talk on the subject, what is soul? And why does the devil want your soul? There's so much that I want to give before time catches me. Because this enemy, as we start mobilizing, he's going to see trouble. And when he sees trouble, he becomes frightened. And the greatest trouble he could see is our loving one another.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And coming into a form of unity that allows us to pool our resources financially and intellectually to build institutions that will live after we are gone. We must take our future into our own hands. I plead with you not to depend on a good, and I put that in quotes, white person in the White House to make a future for millions of black people, millions of Hispanic people, millions of Native Americans, or Arabs, or Asians. The Asians in America are not looking for government to solve their problems.
That's right. That's right, sir.
The Asians in America unite, pool their resources, build an economic infrastructure,
That's right.
and you don't see them bothering too much with the politics,
That's right.
but you don't see them crying
That's right.
over how bad America is.
That's right. That's right.
Listen.
Our Hispanic brothers and sisters, they're a lot stronger than we are because they have a sense of self that gives them a measure of unity. So many brothers and sisters from Mexico or from Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic and other places, they come to America, they'll come to New York, you see a family together, sharing an apartment but they were all out hustling, doing something, bringing the money back, building